It is 1:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Breaking news earlier today from the Tennessee Titans. Former Tennessee Vols quarterback Joshua Dobbs signed to the Titans' active roster. The news initially broken by his agent. The Titans made it official with the transaction shortly after, also adding that offensive lineman Dylan Radins was added to injured reserve. That makes it the 17th player on IR currently for the Titans. It is the second most in the NFL. The good news for Titans fans yesterday, Traylon Burks listed as a full participant. There was an estimation as the Titans went through a walkthrough on Tuesday. Burks working his way out of concussion protocol. Danico Autry was listed as limited, although Christian Fulton, Nate Davis, and Ben Jones among players listed under did not practice. Jones with a concussion. College hoops, big win for the Lipscomb Bisons on Tuesday. They defeated Louisville on the road 75-67. Belmont will be in action tonight hosting Samford at 6:30, and the 8th-ranked Tennessee Vols will host Austin Peay in Thompson Bowling Arena. That is a 5 p.m. tip-off. The Preds on the road at the Chicago Blackhawks. Puck drops at 7:30 tonight. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. All right, let's do it. Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. Lucas Panzica filling in for Mickey Ryan. A well-deserved day off for both Mickey and the Hitman, because I've got across from me once again, Keith Bullock, Mr. Monday Night, with us on 104.5 The Zone. KB, it was good to have you yesterday. We got you back here again tomorrow, so let's have some fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I liked yesterday, you chime in, but now you and I for 2 hours. Let's do it. The variety keeps me interested.
Yeah, we'll keep it moving. Mickey on his way up to Illinois with his family. They're going to enjoy some well-deserved Christmas time off. You got any plans for the holiday? Like, what's the situation for the Bullock clan?
Yeah, man. It's no plans. Saturday, Christmas Eve. It's cool because it's on Saturday, so full slate of football. My wife and I will cook. My father-in-law is in town. Her cousin lives here. My wife's cousin lives here. Her family's from San Francisco, and then we'll have some friends over. I think Mr. Hainsworth might fall through, and just probably eat, have some drinks, and watch some football. What about yourself?
Gonna go, Titans game on Saturday, noon kickoff. Second that game ends and we get off the air on Titans radio, I'm getting in my car and I'm driving to Birmingham, where my family is for Christmas. But it's going to be a cold one. I'm hoping it's a little warmer in Birmingham than it will be in Nashville Saturday. I'm not optimistic. We're looking at like 7-degree weather, just in the single digits around kickoff in Nissan Stadium on Saturday. Anytime you ask coaches and players, and big news day for the Titans, that they signed Joshua Dobbs to the active roster, Dylan Radins on injured reserve. We're going to get into all of that and want to hear from you. 615-737-1045. So the beat-up Titans will play the Texans on Saturday in single-digit weather. Whenever you talk to coaches and players, they brush that stuff off, right? Like pretty quickly. Like Vrabel will say, we don't care what the weather is, how many degrees it is. It doesn't change the way we play. Does that vary from player to player? I don't know. Are some guys built to where it absolutely does affect the way they play? How was it for you as a guy that, obviously spent so much of your life in the Northeast?
Yeah, I think it's like offensive players, it could probably change the way they play. Guys that have to handle the ball, wide receivers, I definitely commend them for being able to really lock in on those really cold games, to be able to run their routes, and come out of the break and do all those things that they do on a day where it's typically, 80 degrees in perfect conditions. So I don't think it affects me as much as a defender, just because the name of the game for me is get to the ball and make the play. So I'm doing that, regardless. But I definitely think, maybe the quarterback center exchange, running back, because it can get, especially running backs when you have to alternate, because there can be a possibility you don't feel the ball to an extent if it's that cold out. Like the coldest game I played in was -13 wind chill. So,
Was that for the Titans?
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Where was it?
I was at a playoff game in New England. Yeah. Jeff Fisher had the snot mustache, frozen snot mustache.
The famous snot mustache. That's awesome. So okay, because when you're on the field before those games, like the only true cold game the Titans have had this year was in Green Bay, and it was like 20-something degrees.
Cool.
And it's snowing, but being on the field for that game, I'm bundled up and I got my gloves and I still feel like I can't feel my hands. And then the guys come out and they're obviously not wearing sleeves and, you're just in pads and stuff like that. A lot of them aren't wearing gloves, the quarterbacks. And it's like you can't even fathom how your body can work because my hands are in, and I'm a baby when it comes to the cold.
Right.
But it's like my hands are, I am in pain just standing here whenever I take off my gloves for more than 30 seconds. So is it like something you have to train your body to any extent? I mean, especially if you're from the South and it's not something you grew up in. I just feel like I would not handle that well if I had to play a game in any sport on Saturday.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny you say that. Like Samari Roll and a lot of the dudes from Florida, they would have a tough time and they wear sleeves and all the gloves because they never played, football in November, like when it's cold. It's already always 80 degrees and sunny down there when they're playing football. So, yeah, they definitely did have a tougher time. They would get through it. But at the end of the day, it's your job. You're going to have to go out there and perform regardless. And, it's really a mental thing. I don't think many people let the elements get in the way I don't think many people purposely let the elements get in the way of them doing their job.
So the news today from the Tennessee Titans, Dylan Radins placed on injured reserve, and that was shortly after we learned Joshua Dobbs signed off the Lions practice squad to the Titans active roster. But we'll stick with Radins here, who is the 17th player added to injured reserve for the Titans this season. That's the second most in the NFL, behind only the Denver Broncos, who have 19 players on IR. And it's just another fallen offensive lineman at this point in the season for the Titans. And it's
these fragile players, man. What's going on?
I mean, I was looking at your career, KB, because we obviously we're with Blaine every day on this show. And Blaine is a guy that was so consistently available throughout his career.
Yeah.
You were a guy that was so consistently available. I did like a double take when I'm looking at your time in the NFL. You never played less than 13 games in a season.
Yeah.
With what the Titans are going through now, like it almost feels, and just in general, I mean, the way injuries are up around the league and so many teams that have 11, 12, 15 guys on injured reserve, it's almost unthinkable that that's even possible. So when you see this stuff with players dropping like flies, injury reports that look like novels after practice every day, how do you kind of consume that stuff? How do you process that?
I do realize that I was fortunate. But I started 127 straight games. You know what I'm saying? So once I got on the field as a starter with the Titans, the only thing that took me off was my ACL injury, and I realized like that's very rare. And now I just think the game. There's less time put into maybe the expectations of the off season. These guys are very into, because you'll see from March to August, all the hype reels of them, athletes training and doing everything with all the music and all those things. And, it's more about look at me, when it comes to those things. And I'm not saying guys aren't out there training. And I just also know that translated to we were out there training because we knew we were going to have a long, vigorous preseason camp. And once you make it through preseason camp, you're going to be ready for the season. Like you're going to get injured, but it provided more durability. It provided the callousness that you needed, the bangs, the bruises, the things that you needed to get. And yeah, you might be out of, the last two preseason games, or you might be out of camp for a couple weeks, and you'd had your injuries then as well. I just think, and obviously, I haven't done any research on this, but it just obviously with the Titans, the last 2 seasons with the injuries, and then you look around the league, the soft muscle injuries, and they've always been here. I just think the fact that there's less demand on preparation for the physicality that the NFL still brings, regardless if you're trying to provide more safety for the players in the offseason and these different things. I just think that those players that aren't as durable, they show up first.
So a reason why this happens with such high frequency, not just for I understand the Titans are kind of in a different tier in these last couple of years, like record-breaking tier of the amount of injured players, but it's up around the league. So in your mind, a lot of that is because of the lack of contact in preseason and in training camp?
I mean, I think that's something to be looked at, because I know in our day, like we'll have 3 practices, and let's just start the first week of camp. The first week of camp, the first 3 practices maybe just be helmets and shorts, and then the next 3 days you're in helmets and just shoulder pads. But helmets and shoulder pads back then, you're doing everything. Might as well have pants on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing everything but taking to the ground. And then when you put pads on, we're really trying to get after it. And this is like about a week and it seems like 3 weeks, but we do double, triple sessions, and we have that banging. So then by the time we get to the preseason games, we don't have to, hit in practice and all those things, because we have a full 3 weeks of hitting and going after each other. Then we have joint practices to kind of scale it back a little bit to get a different look. And then you go into your preseason games. So you pretty much have played and gotten your body used to the rigors of and the physicalities of the National Football League.
I want to talk a little bit about how this locker room is sort of processing not only a 4-game losing skid, but the injuries happening around them and just kind of what that does to the attitude of a locker room. We'll get into that. If you want to talk to Keith Bullock, 615-737-1045. We'll be with you until 3 p.m. It's Blaine and Mickey on 1045, The Zone.
Cool Ray Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing and Electrical is your place for whole home generators. Cool Ray's Honeywell whole home generators assure your lights stay on throughout Tennessee storms. And they have some bad storms. And with the holiday guests, make sure your home stays perfect for all holiday activities, including keeping the holiday lights on. And Cool Ray Comfort Consultants will help design the perfect whole home generator system for your home. Plus, save you up to $1,500 off a Honeywell whole home generator today. So schedule a free whole home generator estimate today by calling Cool Ray Heating, Cooling and Plumbing, and Electrical at 629-600-2665. That's 629-600-2665. Or schedule it online at coolray.com.
Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. Lucas Panzika hanging out with Titans legend Keith Bullock with you until 3 p.m. It looks like at this point, Ryan Tannehill's not going to be available for the Titans on Saturday. Malik Willis, obviously on the active roster. Joshua Dobbs signed from the Lions practice squad to the Titans active roster. So, Keith Bullock, stands to reason that you'll go in on Saturday with two quarterbacks on the active roster. And right now, that appears to be Dobbs and Willis. I don't know that they would have made this move if they were optimistic about Tannehill's chances at playing Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just having insurance, see how the week goes. Obviously, it's Wednesday. They're just getting out there, trying to get Josh Dobbs acclimated as fast as possible. They don't have to make the decision until, the end of the week. Until what? Game time? This is like a game time decision. They don't have to show their hand, but I agree. Like, everything indicates that obviously they're going to get Malik Willis ready to go out there and start and have Josh Dobbs know as much as the playbook as possible if there is a just-in-case situation.
So, obviously, you were on the defensive side of the ball, but how much of a challenge is that coming in midweek? We just saw Baker Mayfield do it in L.A., got there on Tuesday and played Thursday Night Football, came in after the first series, led them to a win. But in that case, obviously it varies by position, but how much do things you think have to be simplified for the player? Or is it just you just have to try and consume everything that you possibly can as fast as you possibly can?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on the coach. If it were me and I have to start a quarterback, I'm bringing him in, showing him what we do. I'm asking him what he knows, especially a quarterback. Josh Dobbs has been in the league long enough, seen a few different systems. It's all the same. It's just spoken in a different language. And from that, I got to figure out what I could put this guy out here to have success with. How can I have success? I know I have the number one running back in the league, so I'm going to figure out my, screen game, my draw game, the different pass game, my short pass games that I'm going to be able to get my running back in, my chig in, like the people that I know that can make plays and make it easy for even Malik, even the same game plan for Malik, give him things that he is comfortable with, that he can have success. Don't put all the offense's success on him. Derrick Henry wants to carry the load. A lot of those guys want to carry the load. So I would say put him in a position where you ran the ball a few times with success. Now you hit the play action pass and you're hitting Austin Hooper with the over route for about 15 yards. And then you know what I'm saying? You got to really game plan and scheme this game up, regardless if it's Josh Dobbs, who would be a little harder. But even if you're going in with Malik, and I think for all the, you see it on social media, everyone calling for the offensive coordinator's job because they say he's not good at scheming things. He's not good at putting game plans together. Why does he do certain things? This is one where he's going to have to put a good game plan together because the Titans should win on Saturday. It's going to come down to obviously defense, stopping the Texans, but then offensively putting a game plan together where they are controlling the line, where they control the time of possession, and when they get they're getting points. They're not getting turned away. You have to get points when you're in position to get points, and you want those points to be 6. And then, Texas have been playing good football, but at the end of the day, the Titans are number one in this AFC South, and it's a lot of times sports comes down to mentality, and you're talking about, you're saying something about the locker room. That's where that's going to have to come from.
For a young player like Malik, how much easier of a load as far as preparation is it, having already played the Texans and having already conducted that game plan earlier in the year?
Yeah, like I was saying, it's the same. He already had the test. It's the same test. Now he can go back to, study how he played against the Chiefs. More importantly, how he played against the Texans. Which passes did he miss? Which checks did he miss? What's something that coach told him to look out for that he didn't understand that he understands now? What has his progression as an NFL quarterback been since that last game. And look, not too many young rookie quarterbacks get the opportunity to take the test again. Like, he's going against the Texans. We're talking about a game that they won. Now, can they win with that same formula? I don't think so, because the Texans have gotten better. They're playing with more confidence. They've been able to capitalize on things going their way. But that being said, I feel that, we will see if Malik Willis has gotten better and if he understands the nuances and, the things that he wasn't understanding the first time around. Because, like I said, he's getting a shot at the same team, which is they're not going to change too much. Might see a few things differently, but, same team.
Texans will look a little bit different. Dameon Pierce out for the year. The rookie out of Florida was having a phenomenal start to his career. And Derek Stingley, the first-round corner out of LSU, also out for the season. Stingley did play in that game against the Titans. So it'll be a different look defensively as well for Houston. But, yeah, like you said, they're fighting. I mean, they came this close against Dallas 2 weeks ago, against Kansas City, an overtime loss on Sunday. It's a team that's just fighting for Lovie Smith right now.
Right, and they're fighting, and the Titans, their backs are to the wall. Everything was all good a month ago when they're on the 5-6 game win streak, and, we're figuring this out, they're figuring that out. Now it's some adversity. It's a long season. There was some adversity earlier in the year. They were able to get it together. Of course, everyone keeps talking injuries and those things, but at the end of the day, that's a part of football. At this time of the year, in December, you have a playoff. You have a playoff berth essentially. So it's really time to close out and you get people healthy. But the people that are able to go out there on Saturday, they need to be singing a different tune. It is what it is. It's sports. So
Kevin Byard speaking with the media after the Chargers loss on Sunday, and obviously he was fresh off of a loss, fourth in a row. That's never happened in Byard's career since he was drafted in 2016. It hasn't happened for this franchise since 2015 when Mike Mularkey was the interim after Ken Wisenhunt had gotten fired. So let's hear this. This is Kevin Byard after the Chargers loss when he's asked about, the AFC South race and the Jags kind of on their heels from Los Angeles.
Yeah, we fought. Obviously, didn't show up in the biggest moment of the game, which was the last drive, so disappointed about that. But, made some plays, but obviously wasn't, good enough or enough to win the ball game. So that's what it comes down to.
What's the difference between this game and the last couple of games, KV? I mean, is there something that stands out in terms of what's not necessarily clicking or the execution at times, or is there even a common thread?
I really see a difference. I mean, we lost. So, that's probably the biggest thing I've been saying. We've been losing. We lost 4 straight, so. I don't know.
Things slipping away?
It seemed like it. I don't know.
Jaguars one behind you now.
We lost. Division's still there, but personally, I can care less about that. I'm not really into obviously want to win the division and all that stuff, but I'm not really into, just getting to the playoffs and all that. It don't look like we're a team right now that's going to beat anybody. So we got to find a way to get back to work and beat Houston. That's all we can really do at this point.
Have you ever felt like that as a leader in the locker room? Just that sort of helpless feeling that we just don't look like a team that can beat anybody right now?
Yeah, after a game for sure. Definitely after a game. I definitely have felt like that, after a few games, but as I was listening to that, that's right after a game. That's right after someone took you to a ring, through the ringer, and you are the leader and you hold yourself very accountable, and there was nothing you could really do out there. But I'm just curious how he would answer that question today if asked. I'm sure he would have a different energy, a different mindset, and just like a different approach towards it, just because of all those things that you said. He is the leader, and that's just after a battle. That's just how you're feeling. You're feeling dejected. You have that woe was me. You fought your butt off, and your teammates fought their butts off, and you just couldn't do anything to a team that you probably feel as if you should have beat.
Let's hear from Kevin Byard earlier today then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really good. Was upset at the end of the game, was upset that night. But, you wake up in the morning, you kind of review things and look at the film, and it wasn't all bad out there for sure. On the defense, I feel like we played pretty well. Obviously, playing really good on third down. We're the best third down team in the league, so that's going to have to be a big key for us this weekend. Make sure we get out the field on third down. So we still control our destiny, and we just have to go out there and handle our business, which obviously starts with winning on Saturday. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've had guys hurt all year, so I mean, it's really been a rally the troops type game, year, season. So we just got to handle our business and do what we do.
That is a different tone from Kevin Byard.
Nah, for sure. And that was great that was on time. You guys had that audio. Man, this show is great. You guys are good. You guys are good. But no, absolutely. Like you asked me, have I been there? It's like, yeah. Everybody, you do what you do. After he did that first interview, flew home and saw his family and did whatever Kevin Byard did to get himself back to be ready to face the media, face his teammates, and be the leader and be accountable. But he's a dog, and when you're a dog, you ain't gonna back down. Titans are backed in the corner right now. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just take it in the corner? You're gonna come out fighting, and the leaders on these teams, you hear from Jeffrey Simmons, you hear from Tannehill when he speaks. They speak with conviction enough that you believe that they're going to come out and fight and just not, let somebody do whatever they want to do to them. Like he said, they're still in control. So he believes it. That means the team believes it.
I was trying to find some sort of parallel from your time here. And in 2004, you guys were 4-6. Titans are 4-6 heading into week 12. And you lost 5 in a row.
Dang.
I don't know if you remember that specifically. And Titans had done a lot of winning in the last few years. I mean, they had only one season with more than 5 losses since moving to Nashville at that point. Everything else was, 11, 12, 13 wins, divisional playoff game, AFC championship game, obviously the Super Bowl. So I don't know if you remember that specifically, 2004 for a team and a coaching staff that is so used to winning and being in the postseason, going on a 5-game losing streak after being in the playoff picture around the midway point of the year. I mean, do you remember how that kind of impacted you guys in 2004?
Yeah, for sure. For me, you go from, my play didn't drop, but the team kind of we had injuries. We had injuries to key players. I believe that was the last year for Kevin Carter, Shamari Rowe, maybe even Derek Mason, those type names that kind of had built this franchise when they came, when the Titans came to Nashville. So, it was like bad football, and it wasn't because of lack of trying. Sometimes you just, the people that you put out there aren't necessarily people that are meant to be starters in the NFL or play 35 to 40, 50 snaps a game. Maybe they're just special team players. Now you have to put them in a full-time starting role at strong safety, and they're doing the best that they can, but they're not accustomed to, so these scouts, I always give scouts a hard time, but some are very good at their job. These guys are, they play in the NFL for 11 years on special teams for a reason, because they can go out there and do a great job on special teams. Every now and then, a few times throughout the season, go play some regular snaps, make a few plays, or just be a solid player. But when those guys are full-time special teams players and have to be thrusted into roles where you have to play the role of a David Long Jr. or the role of a Zach Cunningham or the role of a Armani Hooker or Traylon Burks, it changes. That's not necessarily they're a wide receiver or a tight end, but they're not wide receiver 1. They're probably wide receiver 4 trying to be wide receiver 1 or 2 or the 5th linebacker in the depth chart or safety or corner in the depth chart. But now because we are decimated with injuries, you're thrusted into action and it's moving fast out there. Now it's like if you're on the assembly line, now you're just being moved up in the assembly line. You're at the back of the assembly line for a reason.
That assembly line's churning right now for the Titans.
You're good with the nuts and bolts, but now when you got to put the seats in and the seat belts and all that stuff, Stuff's wacky.
I mean, that's exactly what this team is going through.
Yeah.
And the hard part is the expectation doesn't drop, right?
No, not at all.
You hear it constantly.
You heard KB,
Yeah.
you hear Vrabel, and it's so cliche. It's like next man up, but everybody that's on that assembly line wants their opportunity at the front of the assembly line. You know what I mean? So it's nothing, it's no lack in anybody's mind on that 53-man roster. They're not, if they get the opportunity, they're like, oh, Panzika, you're starting corner this week. You're like, hell yeah, I'm starting corner. And you're going to do everything in your ability to be prepared, to not let your teammates down, to not let everyone down. But if you've never started or you've had limited opportunity, look, the result's gonna be what it's gonna be. You can only get better. You know what I mean? Like if I had to produce this show or do some of the things you had to do, everybody's gonna notice. But I can only get better. So with sports, it's like that, and with football, it's just week to week, and it's just harder. So Josh Dobbs coming in, who hasn't been on a team in like maybe a month or so, and I don't really know how long.
Yeah, he was cut, he joined the Lions practice squad December 5th. So
right.
he had only been in Detroit for less than 3 weeks.
So I think of Josh Dobbs with the Pittsburgh Steelers and maybe the Cleveland Browns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, he's in his journeyman phase, but he can help a team. So that's why a team would bring him in, because obviously he shows some value.
And how hard is it with all of that, with keeping the assembly line going and next man up, but when things are sort of snowballing the way they have been and the outside noise starts to creep in, and now you have fans, we've been fielding it all week, Keith, fans talking about, all right, they just need to lose out. I mean, it's time to position yourself for a better draft pick. It's better for the long-term future of the franchise. Anytime that conversation starts to pop up from fans, I know players obviously don't think that way, but at some point they notice that conversation, right? I'm just curious how, a guy like you would have consumed that as a player in the midst of a losing streak when that's some of the stuff that you're hearing on the outside.
Well, I mean, I'm not really listening to it's very, so this is like our everyday. Like I get in my car, I'll turn on 104.5, I'll hear you guys, you're coming to work, we're going to talk to this every day. Players, they're not listening to the radio. Like a lot of the questions that get asked when the media comes in are dumb questions to us as players, because it's like, what are you talking about? Of course, because we go out, what did Coach Morris say? You play a game to win, or whoever, Dennis Green. We go out there to actually really win. And hopefully our coaches have the same mindset, that they're putting us in the position to have success and to win as a team. So those things we don't really hear those noise. So we believe every week that you can win. And in the middle of a losing streak, the only thing that can cure it is winning. And it's by any means necessary at this point. And if I were on this team, I would have already had my mind like, yo, we're in the playoffs. We got to win 1, 2, we're going to make the playoffs. So they have to still be thinking that. Why would that go out the window just because you're on a losing streak? You still have 3 games left. Don't care what Jacksonville is doing. Even if it comes down to us having to play Jacksonville at the end for it all, we're going to get that win and go into the playoffs. But, like, we're playing the Houston Texans. It's one of those, the game is a mental thing. If the Houston Texans are coming in here, we're going to pound these guys because this is the best opponent that we can have from where we're at. And it's up to the Kevin Byards, the Ben Jones, the Jeffrey Simmons to get those new guys that are filling in today at practice, get their mind right. And the way you do that is your approach to practice. Action speaks louder than words. So if I'm coming out to practice on a Wednesday, running and going through my drills at full speed, obviously it's no contact, but you could tell, obviously not game speed, but like that stuff is contagious. So it kind of speaks to, what it is. And if you're a little cranky out there as a leader this week, then you're cranky. Get your butt in line. If you don't like it, so be it. So that's the type of stuff that while you hear Kevin Byard's voice in that clip you played, because he understands what he has to do. He's never been in a 4-game losing streak before, as you said, but he's lost in this league, and he's been leader here long enough to know how to help bring the guys out of the depths and the guys he's going to need.
We'll continue the conversation, talk about what Joshua Dobbs is going through in his first few hours as a Tennessee Titan, and a signing day update for the University of Tennessee. All that coming up next. It's Blaine and Mickey with special guest Keith Bullock on 104.5 The Zone.
Santa Barkley is coming to town, and that's not terrible. He's delivering $20 million in gifts this holiday season to all FanDuel customers. How about it? Doesn't matter if you've been naughty or nice. Saint Chuck has something for everyone. Of course he does. Just check your FanDuel app for no sweat, same game parlays, bonuses, and all sorts of cool stuff that'll fill you with holiday cheer. And if you're new to FanDuel, this is a perfect time to sign up. Just remember to use the promo code Mickey when you do. That's Mickey, like the mouse, Mickey. Look, the app is simple. It's easy to use. They're always going to hook you up with great promotions like this. And when you win, you get paid instantly with FanDuel. So do yourself a favor. See why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Get in the holiday spirit, too, with $20 million in gifts from old Santa Charles Barkley himself. You'd have to be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. Price total dependent on customer participation. Wager requirements apply. Gifts awarded as non-withdrawable site credit or free bets. See FanDuel.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
National Signing Day in college football. Classes starting to come together. Early signing period, to be technical, but let's be honest, this is where teams are building their recruiting classes. Lucas Panzica hanging out with Keith Bullock until 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Works pretty differently now than when you were signing to play for the Syracuse Orange back in your day. I mean, what do you remember about that when Keith Bullock made his decision to play for Syracuse?
I remember being in the principal's office, my guardian, Miss Welch, Linda Welch, my brother, Smitty, my older brother, maybe both my older brothers were there, and then my two best friends, they got out of class. Like I was telling you, we still have a picture. I still have pictures of all that stuff. And just signed. I remember I had to sign like a few pages, and we faxed it to Syracuse, and I took a picture with my brothers, my boys, and my principal, and went back to history class, and that was it.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean, yeah. But it was cool to know that, like for me, like I was a foster kid, so like I went into foster care at 13. So for me, it wasn't until I was like in 10th grade, going into 11th grade, where I realized I could get a scholarship. Like, oh, that's how you play college football. So, because NC State scout came through our school, and that was before there was Huddle or anything. My coach, high school coach Ed Henry, used to go to all these high school clinics, and college coaches would be there, and he would take he's like, oh, I think I got a guy you might want to see. And then my sophomore year, he was like, oh, you got to put together a highlight film. So then my junior year, I put together a highlight film, and he would go to these clinics and like pass it out. So that's kind of how, I guess you had to get discovered. I had like a mixtape.
Yeah. It's basically the same thing now, except you just got players pushing links out everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, now it's easy. Like my nephew, you know, bless his heart, he goes hard. You know, he reps the last name. He looks the part, but he's definitely not the part, you know. But if you saw his highlight tape, oh, yeah. His highlight, there's a reason it's called a highlight tape.
Yeah, he laid down some good music under there and just.
But you know what? It's my brother's kids, so you know they were rough on me. So
Yeah.
I just take it out. I was like, yeah, nah, he ain't got it, son. That's not it. I
What
cheer
grade is
on my
he in?
nephew. What? He's a senior. It's over. It's over. Forget about it. Nah,
It was Syracuse and who for you? What did it come down to?
for me, it came down to Syracuse, University of Virginia, and Michigan. Nebraska was in the picture, and that's really it. But if I had gotten recruited by University of Florida, I would have gone there. I sent them my highlight tape, and like I got it back like after I had already committed to Syracuse, like my senior year, like after practice, they sent like their response was like, oh, you know, they didn't recruit me pretty much. They're like, oh, we already got who we need. You know, I was all right. I was already good, but Michigan I didn't go to. They wanted me to play linebacker. UVA, it was cool. I didn't necessarily enjoy my recruiting trip, and Nebraska wanted me to play running back.
Wow.
Linebacker.
And that's
So,
Nebraska at the height of Nebraska.
yeah, so I'd rather give the hits than take them. So
Sure.
I wasn't playing any offense.
And UVA, I think the Barbers are at UVA when you're
they were there at the
being recruited.
time. They were there at the time. They were good at the time. They were the ones rivaling Florida State. George Welsh was that the coach? I don't know. I don't remember.
So was Michigan wanting you to be a linebacker? Was that a deal breaker for Keith Bullock at the time?
Yeah, because I was a skill position,
Yeah.
and a safety, and my favorite player was Ronnie Lott. So I was trying to be the next Ronnie Lott or the next Bo Jackson, and none of that said linebacker. So I don't even know what Michigan was talking about. Like as bad as I wanted to go to Michigan, I'm like, bro, y'all could go ahead and leave now.
Well,
Like,
they saw something clearly that ended up panning out.
They did. It worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out. I always say Syracuse got me with the banana in the tailpipe. You know, smarter school.
Do you ever hear from anyone that recruited you at Michigan telling you, I told you were a linebacker?
No, but we did play Michigan my junior year. After the game after in '97, we lost to UT when UT came up to the Dome.
Yeah, season opener, right?
Yeah, so we had UT and University of Michigan back to back. And that was right after the year in Michigan won. I think they won the Natty, like the year
They had won, yeah. They
Charles
had just won
Woodson
the
had
national.
just left, so it was like a, big game, their first
Yeah.
home opener. We had just took one on the chin from you guys, and I went up there. I had like 21 tackles or something like that, and the coach that recruited me definitely found me and said, yeah, he's like, I made a big mistake. And I was like, you're damn right. That's why I came up here and wrecked the big house on purpose. You feel me?
It's funny how that stuff turns out, man, because you end up playing all those years in the NFL at that position. I mean, your last game of your collegiate career is the Music City Bowl at what was then Adelphia Coliseum, which happens to be where you play the majority of your NFL career. It's just funny how that stuff works out sometimes.
Yeah, and then after that game, I forget. I used to know his name. He used to work for the Titans. I thought he was a scout. You know, every college player, you see an NFL, somebody with NFL gear on, you just assume they're a scout. He comes up to me. He's like, so you're going to have a great career in the NFL. And I was like, yeah, it'd be cool if y'all drafted me. And I just, you know what I'm saying? But then come to find out, he was just like a front office guy. He had nothing to do with drafting or not. He just happened to be at the game, you know.
You thought you were making some connections.
If I make a movie, if I do like a life story movie, best believe I'm exaggerate that part and make believe he was like Floyd Reese. I'm going to make believe, rest in peace. That's going to be my Floyd Reese moment. I'm going to be like, Floyd saw me at the Music City Bowl and knew he had to have me. But if anybody's listening, don't tell nobody that we added that, but,
That's pretty good. You got to editorialize the story a little bit, make it a little more Hollywood.
Of course.
Tennessee picks up a 3-star running back, Deshaun Bishop, one of the final additions in this class of 2023 at 5'10", 196-pound product, local guy out of Carnes High School in Knoxville. So the Vols class coming together at the moment, the number 10 class in the 2023 Sports 247 Sports Composite rankings. Alabama is building a historic recruiting class right now. It's looking like the best in the Nick Saban era. They've added 2 5-star commitments. They have 6 total, and it's getting to the point where it's going to rival Texas A&M's greatest class of all time that we saw about a year ago around this time. So the rich are getting much, much richer in Tuscaloosa. It's just the way recruiting has sort of developed as a concept since you were in high school. It's evolved so much to where now the calendar being in December, it's crazy for these coaches because you're not only recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting the transfer portal. You're recruiting your own players to not go into the transfer portal. Oh, and you probably have a bowl game to prepare for.
Yeah, and, the recruiting's crazy, but let me ask you a question. When it comes to recruiting and then they get these kids into the school, how many misses are you seeing? Because you get these 5-stars that are going in there and with the 5-star ego, and then they're competing against a 3-star who's a dog who's just hungry and just puts his head down and works. And, once you get in there, those coaches don't care about the stars, the star, whatever you were, unless you earn that. And then the transfer portal comes in. And then now to what you said, a college coach is going to the transfer portal before he's going to get those high schooler with stars, because a 3-star or a 5-star that may be a redshirt freshman or is in the transfer portal is trying to get out, they already have a year of college under their belt. They have a year of going to class. They have a year of, having the freshman hangover, of missing home and all those different things. I remember for me, it took me about a full year going into the spring. It was about like going into the spring where I'm locking in and like, yeah, okay, I can handle the football load. I can handle the class load. But by then I had already failed like a couple classes and had to take summer school. But you know what I'm saying? I had gone through the ups and downs of college, because the first semester I had a 3.5 because I was redshirted. All I had to do was go to practice and do my work. But then now you get more socially. Second semester, now I'm training, getting more into the football aspect. So it's a matter of balancing that. And you figure those right out of high school kids, that's something that is us on the radio sitting here speaking overlooked. But these coaches are thinking about that. If I could take a 19, 20-year-old kid that's already mature in that aspect and knows the football over a 17, 8-year-old kid, they're probably going to go that route.
A lot of teams are, especially at the most critical positions. We'll get a little more into some of the news coming down on signing day, and you'll hear from Titans quarterback Malik Willis, who may very well be getting his 3rd career start Saturday against the Houston Texans. It's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. Hour number 2, it's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. I am not Mickey Ryan. I cannot play the bass, but my partner can play football just like the hitman. Keith Bullock with us on 104.5 The Zone. I'm Lucas Panzica. We're with you for another hour talking Titans and Texans on Saturday as the Titans look to break out of a 4-game losing skid, and they're not getting much help on the injury front. Keith Bullock, Dylan Radins placed on injured reserve earlier today, and that's not even mentioning the injury report that came out yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to see this, even just to see like a picture of it and the length of the injury report.
I haven't.
Because I'd be curious if the Titans injury report after any single day of practice ever in all your years playing in two-tone blue looked like this. Because this is insane. It's the longest one I've ever seen. Essentially, the Titans' entire offensive line on the injury report. Nate Davis, and these are all estimations as the Titans had a walkthrough yesterday. So all estimations here. Nate Davis estimated as a did not practice with an ankle. Ben Jones, who played 100% of the snaps against the Chargers on Sunday, also did not practice with a concussion. And that would be Ben's second concussion of the season. Missed a couple weeks earlier this year with the same thing. Obviously, that's a concern at a critical spot at center with what has been one of the only consistent points of the offensive line in Ben Jones this season. And then, obviously, Dylan Radins added to injured reserve. His season is over with having to miss a minimum of 4 games. Titans are obviously at that point where that would run out his season. And then Aaron Brewer, estimated as a limited participant with a rib injury.
Yeah, man, that's tough. They're limping into Saturday. I'm not going to say obviously the game has to be played, but depending on what the product looks like on Saturday, it might be safe to say next week, depending, like I say, what it looks like. If nobody's coming back, people are starting to go on IR that you need, it might be throwing it in the towel. And you're not going to do it on purpose. Obviously, You're going to go out there and play, but if people can't go and they're not trying to go because they're that hurt or however it works out, like if you can't go, you can't go. You got to go out there with you go out there with. And, you know, obviously when I say throw in the towel, no one's quitting, but like it almost seems as like woe is me. Like, oh, well, this is what we have and we hope. And you're going out there with hope. That's what I'm looking for. You can't go out here with hope. You know what I mean? You got to go out there with confidence, knowing that the, players that you are putting on the field are going to get it done. And, right now, I guess the best way to say, I shouldn't say throwing the towel, the best way to say is they're going out there. It sounds as if they're playing with a lot of hope.
And it sounds as if Malik Willis may be the starter on Saturday. Titans signed Joshua Dobbs from the Lions practice squad, so he is picked up and signed to the active roster. And Ryan Tannehill dealing with the ankle that he re-aggravated on Sunday. Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing spoke with the media earlier today about Malik Willis, and I thought some of his phrasing was interesting here, Keith, as we kind of try to project here on this Wednesday as to who will start at quarterback for the Titans on Saturday. Here was Downing talking about Malik Willis today.
Yeah, I think he got in and out of the huddle well. I think he, got through his progressions well, handled a can in the run game well. That drive, like many of our drives on Sunday, derailed with a penalty that got us into a behind the stick situation, and that's going to be hard for anybody. Particularly somebody who, was kind of thrown in spur of the moment. So I was pleased with a lot of things he did. Like I said, we converted the first third and short with him. And, I think that, he's going to have an opportunity to continue to grow in his understanding of some of the base concepts that we have and expect to see some growth from him.
Talk about the discussions you've done.
So expecting to see some growth from Malik, do you take that as seeing that growth as the starter on Saturday or practicing as the starter this week? Because it's looking like Ryan Tannehill's not going to be able to get on the practice field.
Yeah, I mean, practicing as the starter and going out there as the starter on Saturday. But it also makes it seem like that, his learning curve needs to increase drastically by next season. If he's still talking about getting in and out of the huddle, talking about, learning some of our base concepts. We're still at a base level with Malik, and obviously not a lot knock. I'm just going by what the coach is telling that he's working with. So him saying that, some of these conversations that they were having several weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, when he was going to have to start, the Kansas City game and the Texans game, it's refreshing. Seems like, that the OC is saying that those conversations were more detailed then, and now they're just they're just flowing as natural conversations, because he does understand what they were trying to teach him before way better than he did now he does. But at the same time, they're still working with base concepts, as Dajani said, that with Malik, and he's starting to grasp those base concepts.
What have you made of his progression as far as just mechanics, just the way he's kind of composed in the pocket, when to run, his decision-making? What have you kind of made of Malik in the sample size that we have seen over the course of the year?
Well, I think Mickey made a great point yesterday. He and I were speaking off air, and what he said was, Malik originally was at Auburn. He was a quarterback at Auburn for a couple years, and Auburn, SEC football, we know the speed of that game. And then an Auburn transfer goes to Liberty. Now, with that style, shotgun style of play, and in college, most of those reads are one look. If he's open, throw it. If not, tuck it and run. At Liberty, Malik was probably the fastest person on the field, where at Auburn, he's getting walked down. Now he gets to this level. He's having to learn NFL concepts. And then, I can speak about myself in this, because I know that when I got to the NFL, the detail was different. Coach Mack made this point yesterday. He said that what his point was that at the NCAA level, coaches only get, from 2 to about 2:45 to install, because you're on the field at 3:30, and that's every day. Obviously, you have camp, but how much are the kids going to retain? Because now you're going into a game plan mode every week. So if it's like you're going matchups in concepts, and these kids aren't even going into a huddle, they're not taking snaps from center. So think about those details, and then to read cover 2 to a cover 3 to a hybrid to a fire zone, which they probably hardly run anymore, to all these different defenses. And I think the detail is the detail was pointed out is what these young quarterbacks are missing once they get at this level. And speaking to Malik specifically, if he had to drop in class at the collegiate level, and obviously he had success then, it's going to take him a little bit more to kind of get up to the speed. And, I don't know like what he was asked to do in the classroom and stuff like that. He seems to be fine, but definitely the speed and making decisions and all those different things.
And that's where I think you see that natural ability, or that comfortability, I should say, when he breaks out of the pocket and starts running, right? Yeah. I mean, then he looks like a guy that, I think early on there were some moments where he would try to make a move, like in the preseason, where in the NFL, that guy's going to catch you.
Yeah.
But it's felt like in his limited snaps he's gotten this season and his 2 starts, that's so clearly where he's comfortable, is when he gets the chance to run.
Right, and so then that's where it comes to the offensive coordinator knowing your talent, who you're in there with. Get this guy on the edge. Get the play-action game going. Even if it's a shotgun rollout, shotgun boot, just get him something moving, because he feels comfortable. He has a good arm. He has good arm strength. So I think it's a little bit of both. You can't run a Ryan Tannehill drop-back offense with someone who's a young guy that works better on the move. And, Ryan Tannehill, obviously, he was a first-round draft pick, former wide receiver, so it's taken him time to, for his maturation as a quarterback. I just think that you do your best to use the weapons around him to the best of your ability.
Be an interesting weekend in the AFC South. Jags play Thursday night at the Jets. Titans obviously at home against the Texans. And it was a wild weekend in the NFL this past week. We're going to talk about it with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. We'll whip around the league and get to the most intriguing storylines with Jordan Dajani. It's Blaine and Mickey with special guest Keith Bullock on 104.5 The Zone.
So let's take a minute to talk about all you ladies and gents who are dealing with hair loss. Maybe you're just figuring it out. Maybe you've done for a long time. You got a mirror, right? Or you see like the pictures of what you used to look like versus what you know you look like now. However you figured it out or realized it. Maybe your strategy so far has been like wear a hat, or guys, you get your hair buzzed closer and closer. You don't have to do that. You can go to PAI and get the most cutting edge technology, or ladies, whatever you've been doing maybe to try to hide this hair loss. You can just go to PAI. You can stop it in its tracks. So if you just started losing your hair, they've got something as simple as laser light therapy. You just sit under a light twice a week. Maybe you need something a little bit more. Maybe you're a little bit further along with your hair loss journey. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are, PAI has the answers, and you can't afford it. They'll work with you on how you pay for it. Matter of fact, you can go to WeGrowHair.com today. I tell everybody to go there. They offer, you can see everything there that they do. Just go there and look around. Then call and make an appointment. Cost you nothing to get a plan, and they can tell you what's going on and how to fix it. 615-376-6010. That's the number for PAI.
Oh, it was a wild weekend in the National Football League. Comebacks, games determined on the final play. And here to talk about it, Jordan Dajani from CBS Sports. Lucas Panzica and Keith Bullock with you until 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone. He joins us each and every Wednesday. Jordan, good to talk to you, my friend.
Yo, my friends, what's going on? Thanks for having me on the show this afternoon.
No, appreciate you, man. Is this strange for you? So you and I were at the University of Tennessee at a similar time. Is it strange to you? I don't know if you've seen Joshua Dobbs at a St. Thomas Sports Park wearing the number that he wore at Tennessee, number 11, with the Titans helmet on, slinging it around after he was signed to the active roster.
Yeah, it is a little strange, isn't it? And I've run into him a couple times down on Broadway during the offseason. It's interesting to have him back in the city. And, you know, this was a guy that I basically grew up as a reporter covering as a college kid in the press box over at Neyland Stadium. And he gave us some very memorable moments during his time as a Tennessee Volunteer. And he's a guy that definitely is athletic. He's obviously very smart, and I think that really goes over to the side of the football side of it because he's good at learning those new offenses, and he's had to do that several times over the course of his young career. So pretty interesting move by the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I know Dobbs is definitely known for his prowess at Tennessee. Just because we're on it, what is your most memorable moment of his Tennessee career?
It's got to be the Georgia Hail Mary. There's no other memory I'd probably bring up other than that one. But I loved him because he really brought some consistency to the quarterback position for Tennessee. And coming in as a freshman, we had a couple of guys, Justin Worley, Riley Ferguson, Joshua Dobbs, Nathan Peterman. He was a guy that really brought some consistency when he got his shot. So Joshua Dobbs is always going to be a fan favorite in Knoxville.
What do you think, how do you think bringing him in here, he could help Malik at all? Just because obviously he hasn't played and been a starter for much of his time in the NFL, but he has a lot of NFL experience to the point that he's almost a journeyman veteran.
Yeah, you're right. I think journeyman veteran is almost a good way to describe him because he, like I said, he's definitely been with a couple of different franchises now. I mean, we picked him up from the Lions, and he was there for something like a couple of weeks. So, you know, it's an interesting question because I don't know exactly what he can bring to this situation with Tennessee with a young rookie quarterback who's a prospective franchise signal caller. But he's someone who's been around the league, and he's definitely picked up tidbits when it comes to learning new offenses, when it comes to processing things on the fly. He's somebody that's done it before, more so than Malik. So I think it's an interesting pickup from that vantage point, and I think it's interesting too because he's got that mobility just like Malik does. So I think the Tennessee Titans had that in mind when they decided to pick him up off the practice squad.
Jordan, looking back at the action around the NFL in Week 15, I counted 4 walk-off victories over the weekend. 5 if you count the Titans game. I know the Chargers hit that game-winning field goal with 4 seconds left. Game was all but over. He still had a kickoff and everything. So if you count that, that's 5 walk-off victories. Multiple were 17-point comebacks. The Bengals were down 17-0 to the Bucs. The Jags down 27-10 to the Cowboys. Both those teams come back and win. I mean, had this been one of the craziest weekends in the NFL this season?
All hail the Shield. There's no doubt about it. And you kind of nailed it, man. 12 games decided by one score. That's most in a week all time in the NFL. As you mentioned, 5 games decided by a game-winning score on the final play. That's tied for most in a week in the past 3 decades. 3 17-point comeback wins. That's most in a week all time. The Jaguars, the Bengals, and, of course, the Minnesota Vikings, an NFL record 33-point comeback. You know, if you asked me a couple weeks ago about the playoff picture, I would have told you that we are ramping up for a very entertaining end of the regular season, and it certainly has delivered. And, hey, we have 3 more weeks left in the regular season. I think this week coming up is going to be very entertaining as well, especially since the playoff picture is on everyone's mind. The NFL, man, it's the product that always delivers week in, week out.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And 2 of those very, very interesting ending games, one being with Josh McDaniels and the Raiders, and one being with Jeff Saturday and the Colts. One's a winner, one's a loser. But they're both going to get fired at the end of the year, in my opinion. Who do you think is going to go first?
Man, that's a good question. You know, when it comes to McDaniels, it's kind of a tough question because, I talked to Darren Waller a couple weeks ago, and I was asking kind of how Josh McDaniels is accepted and how he's seen in the locker room, and he had very glowing things to say about this guy in terms of what he brought to the system with keeping a positive attitude, because the Raiders were terrible to start the year, and they went on a very long losing streak. And, I think that we've also seen reports talking about the Raiders ownership being cash poor. I don't know if they can technically afford to fire McDaniels after just 1 year. So I would keep an eye on that. I don't think it's going to happen 100%. I guess I'll say that. Now, as for Jeff Saturday, man, that was hard to watch. We were watching the games ourselves, and I still couldn't believe that the Vikings were coming back and going to pull off that win. But I will say this, Jeff Saturday is a guy who was chosen because of his relationship with Irsay. He's somebody who's very familiar with the franchise, the program at large, and he's somebody who wanted to get into coaching. So it was a pretty interesting experiment, but I think his inexperience obviously showed at times, especially during the largest comeback in NFL history. Yeah, I think that the Colts are going to be looking for a different lead man. So I'm leaning towards Jeff Saturday in terms of the coach being out the door compared to McDaniels.
So every once in a while, Jordan, there's a season where there's this one division in the NFL that's just like the ugly stepchild of the league. Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports with us, where one team is going to host a playoff game despite finishing with the losing record. Well, we're looking at the possibility of two divisions, holding that candle this year, and that's the AFC South and the NFC South. So Titans Jaguars might end up being an AFC South championship game in the regular season finale, but I'm looking at the NFC South right now with the Bucs at 6-8, the Falcons at 5-9, the Panthers at 5-9, the Saints at 5-9, and I have no idea who's going to come out on top of it. What division race is more interesting to you down the stretch between two divisions that might have a champion with the losing record, the AFC South or the NFC South?
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, the NFC South is so boring. It could at least be entertaining for us. I mean, look at the AFC South. You got the Titans who are blowing a huge lead. You got the Texans who are all of a sudden playing good ball and trying to take down contenders. You've got a former center that's a head coach. The AFC South is at least entertaining for us. Trevor Lawrence is doing well, as I mentioned. But, yeah, I mean, the NFC South is just gross. You never know what you're going to get from the New Orleans Saints. I'm not sure why Andy Dalton is still in the starting lineup. The Atlanta Falcons already underwent their quarterback change. We didn't see much from Desmond Ridder. The Carolina Panthers are kind of interesting, but I think we learned this past week, if they don't get that run game going, then Sam Darnold can't carry the offense by himself. When I look at the Buccaneers, I think we all can agree that they are not the same legitimate contenders they were in years previous. But looking at their schedule, sitting there at 6-8, I think that they are going to end up winning the division. This week on Sunday Night Football, they're taking on the Cardinals, who are terrible at home. And by the way, they won't have Kyler Murray. They won't have Colt McCoy. It will be Trace McSorley, Penn State legend, making his, I think, first career start against Tom Brady, the GOAT. So I think Tampa Bay is on their way to winning this division. But as you mentioned, they'll probably have a losing record, and they're probably a one and done in the postseason.
Yeah, here we are with the NFC East as maybe the best division in football. If the season ended today, every NFC East team would be in the playoffs.
It's crazy.
I love that, man. Yeah, I hope it stays that way. I've got an eye on the Detroit Lions, the Seattle Seahawks. I, of course, have ties to the Washington Commanders, and that loss was very heartbreaking for numerous reasons against the Giants in primetime. They face off against the 49ers on the road this week, so I'm nervous. I don't know if Washington's going to have enough juice to get into the playoff picture. But as you mentioned, if the year ended right now, can you believe it? The Giants, 8-5-1, the Commanders, 7-6-1, and then, of course, the juggernaut Eagles and Cowboys are basically already locked in.
Yeah, and let's just stick with that right there. You mentioned like the teams in the middle, and at the end, trying to fight in. What about the top teams at the NFC? Obviously, you have your Eagles and you have Minnesota, the top two, which is interesting over there. But then in the AFC, obviously you have Buffalo and Kansas City. But out the corner of my eye, man, Cincinnati might really be that dark horse in the AFC, the way that they're playing. So I'd just like to hear what your thoughts on the top teams in the AFC and NFC.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll tell you this. I'd rather take the AFC than the NFC. I mean, looking at the NFC, the Eagles, their quarterback's dealing with a shoulder sprain. It looks like Hurts is going to miss probably one start. That's my guess right now. The Minnesota Vikings defense is among one of the worst in the NFL, yet they're sitting at 11-3 because Kevin O'Connell's been pretty good in one-score games. They don't feel like a legitimate contender to me just yet, although I like that hire of Kevin O'Connell. The 49ers have a third-string Mr. Irrelevant quarterback that's keeping them above water. But, yeah, you look at the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they have been a team that's been on a mission all year, starting back into the offseason when they made that move to go get Von Miller. They had that bad taste in their mouth from their playoff loss to the Chiefs. They seem like the team, I don't want to say of destiny, but the team that's been favored to hoist the Lombardi when it's all said and done ever since the preseason. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost Tyreek Hill, but that new-look wide receiving core has been coming along. Jerick McKinnon has been balling as of late. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. But I like that you brought up the Bengals as well because they are not out of it when it comes to hunting for that number one seed in the AFC. A 6-game win streak. They were down 17-0 to the Buccaneers and reeled off 30-something straight points. I think that says a lot about a team that they can do that late in the regular season. Joe Burrow has the highest passer rating since week 3, and he's taken just 1.3 sacks per game during the 6-game win streak, which says something about the improvements made along the offensive line. These are the reigning AFC champions for a reason. So do not count out the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a solid 3 right there. Bills, Chiefs, Bengals.
Some big games on this Christmas weekend. You know, you got Commanders and 49ers and the one of the late afternoon kickoffs on Christmas Eve. Eagles, Cowboys, big NFC East matchup that Jalen Hurts, will he play? Will he not play? I mean, Nick Sirianni saying that there's a chance there. And then on Christmas Day, it doesn't get as fun with the best matchup. I don't know, being Packers-Dolphins, not too inspiring on Christmas Day. But, Jordan, as things sort of heat up down the stretch here with only 3 weeks left, what is the most interesting aspect of the playoff hunt to you? Whether it's one division in particular, you know, 2 teams vying for one wild card spot, you know, where does your mind go to first?
So looking at the playoff picture, and I'm probably going to be wrong about this, but looking at the AFC wild cards, I feel like we may be set there. With the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson's probably on the way back. The Los Angeles Chargers have the easiest schedule left in the NFL. And the Miami Dolphins at 8-6, you know, I don't love their defense. Tua Tagovailoa has been struggling, but I still think that Mike McDaniel is going to claim that wild card spot. Now, when you look over to the NFC, that's where the answer to your question lies. The most interesting facet of this late season push has to be America's team. No, I'm not talking about the Cowboys. I'm talking about the America's new team, the Detroit Lions, sitting at 7-7 now. If you asked me a couple weeks ago if the Lions had a chance to make the playoffs, I would have laughed at you. Now things are starting to work in their favor. According to 538, I think they have a 41% chance of making the postseason. That's up almost astronomically compared to their chances just a couple weeks ago. We talked about the Washington Commanders sitting at 7-6-1. That may be the team in my mind that may be dropping out. So I'm looking at Seattle and I'm looking at Detroit. Green Bay still has a puncher's chance, but I'm more intrigued by this Seahawks-Lions race because it may be one of those teams that replaces the Commanders in the NFC. So we're going to learn a lot about that conference here in Week 16.
Lions are playing good football. They've won 6 of 7. These last 3 games, pretty favorable. Not playing a team with a winning record for the rest of the way, Panthers, Bears, and Packers. So I'm with you there, Jordan. That's going to be fun. Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports with us on 104.5 The Zone. Jordan, man, appreciate you as always. Enjoy the holidays. Hope you get to spend some time with family and enjoy the Christmas weekend games.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Y'all are the best. Have a great rest of the show.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, brother. Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports with us on 104.5 The Zone. Yeah, I mean, the Lions, they've won 6 of 7, and they're playing good football, complimentary football right now.
Yeah, the Lions are playing very good, and, you know, I'm starting to get used to and like these 18-game seasons because there's a lot of wiggle room at the end of the season. Obviously, you see teams even like that are like 6-win teams right now with 3 more games that have a fighting chance. And I've, you know, been on some of those teams where, you know, Jeff Fisher would have been like, you got to win these 3 games and these 4 teams got to lose. We come down to the last game of the season. If you win this game and these 3 teams lose and this team wins, we're in. You know, we just didn't handle our business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how I know, for this Titans team, it doesn't matter what is going on around you. You guys, they just have to handle their business. Kevin Byard said it best. We just got to handle our business, and everything will take care of itself. And it's a one game at a time situation now, but at least they're in the fight. At least they're in the fight. And that's why I like these 18-game seasons. Could obviously the Titans be in a better situation? Yeah, if they had better health, but it's the National Football League. Everybody's hurt, so you got to figure it out.
So is there no element at all of paying attention to what the Jags do on Thursday? I feel like that.
Yeah, you watch the game.
Yeah,
but
at some point that's just human nature.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you're off, you're home. There's nothing else to do. You're gonna, I don't know what these cats do during their spare time, but I'm sure it involves some element of, getting away from football. But obviously, that's your profession, and this is a team. I would use that time to see, some extra scouting or something like that. But I don't know if I tune in it's 7:30, the Jags are on, because you're gonna watch that film anyway. So I think you might catch it in passing, but right now. They're probably getting ready for Christmas. Their life isn't the same as our everyday life, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what would Keith Bullock be doing tomorrow night if you were getting ready for a Christmas Eve game against the Houston Texans on Saturday?
I'd probably be watching some film. I definitely after practice, come home, watch some film. Family probably wouldn't come into town till Friday, so I would keep my Thursday routine. Thursday was our night to get out. Probably about 7:30, get something to eat. Go to too many options now. But yeah, back then there weren't too many options. So we'd find somewhere to go hang out. That evening, and then go to practice in the morning. It's a shorter day on Friday, so then Friday, getting ready to do your thing.
Been talking a lot about injuries on the offensive side of the ball, especially the offensive line today with the news of Dylan Radins being placed on injured reserve. A lot of talk about the offense in general. Joshua Dobbs now on the Titans active roster. We'll take a closer look at this defense and who they might get back for Saturday's game. And also a big transfer portal pickup for Tennessee football. He played the same position as my partner today, Keith Bullock. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045. It's Blaine and Mickey on 1045, The Zone.
How many nasty waiting rooms have you walked into while waiting on your vehicle repair? It's like you don't want to sit down or touch anything because there's grease all over the place. Well, at Eurofix, you'll find luxurious waiting rooms with all the internet connectivity and refreshments you need in a safe environment. And Eurofix fixes everything European with an ASE certified technicians. And not all repair shops have ASE certified techs, so you better watch out and make sure an ASE certified technician works on your European vehicle. Eurofix offers a nationwide 3-year or 36,000-mile warranty on all repairs and a free loaner car with those repairs. And you'll like this, no surprises. No work is done without your approval. And Eurofix also offers a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection, and you can drop in with no appointment necessary. A former youth pastor and starting out with just $50 in tools, owner Aaron Stokes and his team have been repairing European vehicles for over 2 decades now. So if you want the best to work on your European vehicle, all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, Monday through Friday, or you can just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
Closing it out on 104.5 The Zone. Jackson Williams spinning the tunes, making the show happen. Lucas Panzica alongside Keith Bullock with you today and tomorrow. It's been fun this week.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, what you know about this Batman? This is the movie from the Seal song from Batman.
Which Batman?
The Michael Keaton Batman. Has to be. I'm waiting for my guy.
This song goes hard. I don't know what I mean. I've been on a Seal agenda
You're on
throughout
a
the
Seal
whole
kick? That's
what's
shows,
up.
last few shows I've produced. And, he's just, they've all slapped. So we're going to keep it rolling, right?
Yes, I like it.
Kiss from a Rose.
I like
That's
it.
as good as it gets from Seal, in my mind. Good stuff, Jackson.
Batman.
Definitely my favorite. So it'll be
All right,
played.
Jackson.
Is this on the playlist at Just Love Coffee in Franklin, Tennessee?
It depends on who the barista is. I let the barista
Oh, yeah?
choose the front of the house music. You know what I mean?
So the barista has total creative freedom
yeah,
on what music plays.
Whoever's barista 1, usually whoever opens, and then barista 2 takes over about 12:30 when that person leaves. I don't like a quiet cafeteria, so I kind of always want something going.
Do you ever walk in? Just Love, by the way, in Franklin, open till 5 if you're in the area, want to grab a cup of coffee. You won't see Keith Bullock there, but
not today. I was there
sometimes
earlier.
you will.
I was there earlier today. I'll be there in the morning. I'm there actually kind of frequently. You know what? On Fridays, I'm usually there for sure because I do Chicken Scratch Fridays. Zach Pillar owns the bar 2 doors down.
Yeah.
He owns that. Neighbors. And I just go have lunch and a few chicken scratches. And there are other beers too, but that's my choice on Fridays.
Man, it's impressive what kind of this collection of former Titans players have done in this community. When you kind of put it all together, you and Zach being business owners, obviously with Kevin Dyson and what he's done in education.
You got Eugene Amano out here, Mark Mariani.
I mean, Blaine,
Mike
obviously,
Bruce,
with us every
Blaine.
day.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us that like have.
I mean, Eddie, that it speaks for itself.
For
It's
sure, like
pretty incredible.
Cortland Finnegan does his thing with his juice bars and stuff like that. So, at some point you realize that you can't play football forever, and it might take some years and some time to. Hell, it might even take 10 years to figure out what it is. But once you've been doing something pretty much from 14 to 25 to maybe 35, it's not going to be like a quick, hey, I'm just going to do this. So, yeah, it's great for those that are able to make a transition and find something. And, we also play a role now with the guys that may have a little bit more trouble finding their transition and finding the things that they want to do, because mental health is real and you still got to be there for those guys that might be struggling. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And I had a plan. I had a plan before, when I was 26, I had a plan for when I was going to be done, because I just realized there was only so much time I can spend in the offseason in New York, Vegas, Miami, LA, nightclubs, and all that stuff. I'll still do that, but then I had to kind of put some time and thought into life after being a bachelor.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you can't play football forever. I know a ton of players on this Titans team are just trying to play football again this season.
Much
less
weekend.
Forever. Not spotted at practice today from Jim Wyatt. This is half an hour ago. Ryan Tannehill, Ben Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Derrick Henry, Nate Davis, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, Dylan Cole, Terrence Mitchell, Josh Thompson. We don't have an injury report. That'll come out later this afternoon. That's who was not spotted at practice by Titans media. Traylon Burks, Danico Autry, and Zach Cunningham all practiced. How bad does this defense need? We understand Danico Autry's importance, but Zach Cunningham seems to be that linebacker that they're going to be able to get back sooner than David Long. How bad could this defense use a Zach Cunningham right now?
Yeah, they could use a lot. Zach Cunningham brings the speed that they're missing. Obviously the guys that they have out there in spot roles, you can notice the lack of speed at that second level. It's very noticeable. So Zach Cunningham is more of a sideline-to-sideline speed guy. Yeah, man, just hearing that list, it's crazy to me. like, I was a guy that always practiced, and that's why I say I was fortunate. I played in 100 and however many straight games, but I didn't really miss practice. I didn't miss practice, and that just makes me feel more fortunate to be able to have had the career that I've had. But I just remember playing with the Giants when I was hurt, like gimping around on a turf toe and a bad knee, and I was getting treatment. Like, I was one of those 5:30 in the morning guys, which I had never been for 10 years. And what I was doing just to get out there to practice. So it just, when I hear that list, it's just kind of, it just kind of baffles me.
It's a long list, and it has been all season. Like we said, injury report will come out later today. I mean, in the short term, on Saturday, what's the most concerning thing for you? Is it the offensive line issues, or is it the possibility? Because we know they can beat the Texans without Ryan Tannehill. They've done that.
Yeah.
But so is it still Ryan Tannehill, or is it the offensive line issues that they didn't quite have against Houston when they had most of their guys?
My most concerning issue is the mindset that they are going into this game with, starting from the top, starting from the coaching staff. What are they doing to prepare mentally for this game? Because now in week 15, it comes down to the physicality and the execution of the games. Are we going to get false starts on first down? So now you're starting 1st and 20, and then Derrick Henry gets a 9-yard run, but it don't matter. You're still 2nd and 11 where you should be 2nd and 1. Like, those little things that Titans have been shooting themselves in the foot, those are the things that you have to negate, because obviously the Texans are not a good team. So let them make those mistakes. When you're in a rut like the Titans are, and you do you commit the errors away from the play that don't even have anything to do with the play, like the pre-snap or the personal fouls, those type things, those are only making it harder. So they have to play really smart, efficient football. They have the better players than the Texans. They've shown, like you said, and proved that they could beat the Texans. I think it comes down to, obviously, a great game plan on offense to put Malik in position to make plays that he's capable of making. Don't ask him to do the things that you ask of Ryan Tannehill. And, play great defense. And I don't think the Texans' offense will be hard to stop.
Top of the show tomorrow, we will know who will not be available for the Titans on Saturday. Thursday this week is essentially a Friday for the Titans because of the short week. Mike Vrabel will tell us who will be out. Be sure to be listening at 1 o'clock, because it'll be me. It'll be Keith Bullock again here on 104.5 The Zone. On the way out, a transfer portal pickup for Tennessee. Former BYU linebacker Keenan Peely announced he will transfer to the Vols. 190 tackles in his career with the Cougars. KB, this was fun. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
In the meantime, in between time.
Peace.